Ticker symbol MULN, making the upside that we were looking for, but shows to have a little bit of weakness coming down for, I would say, a temporary downside. Let's go ahead and validate those possibilities now. What is up, you guys? Thank you so much for stopping by. Once again, this is ARCa coming at you with an MULN technicals, raw price action, and statistical thread of analysis on this happy Monday. Before we get started, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share the video with a friend so that you and them could consider joining our trading community in Discord called ARCa Bulls. With that said, let's dive right into the charts. Okay, so yes, ticker symbol MULN is actually facing a downside here, but I would just like to point out first that I did mention this channel that we were writing, right? So look at the price action from literally today, right? This is the initial candle. We got that massive. We closed the previous day, right? We closed the previous day at, let's see, that was 1074, right about here. Then from that 1074, we actually made a continuation to the upside, which had, let's see, that was another 18%, almost 19% move to the upside before being invalidated by the resistance of this channel. Okay, so the importance of looking at trend. Okay, you guys, so, and we are, of course, we're printing a bearish engulfing candle formation right over here on the 12-hour iteration, right? So the downside would naturally show as more probable, but the downside seems to be very limited, though, and I will explain why. But first of all, let's go ahead and just notice here that the SMA 10 period, that this is the 10-day simple moving average, has now been converted into a resistance, which would be used for a continuation to the downside. Okay, so if I were to kind of put kind of a guess here as to where that downside could land, well, my personal bias would probably be right at about 889, right? So, and why 889? Well, we have this candle here with a low of, 880, right? So it's very close to the bottom side of this candle here, which is a low of 888. And also the opening of this candle here, which is opening right at 889. Okay, so I would probably be expecting a bounce from that area there. Okay, you guys, so let's go ahead and move on to the analysis and explain why it could be a short-term downside rather than a continuation to the downside. But of course, remember, guys, anything is possible in the markets, right? So the statistical move that we actually looked at regarding 40 total iterations throughout the entire trading history of the MULN asset on the 12-hour chart, the criteria was any time that we have contracted into critical contraction of the BBWP representing volatility. This is the BBWP indicator, right? And it's representing volatility itself. So anytime that we have contracted into critical levels within the 15th percentile and started an expansion phase towards the upside and paired with stochastic momentum with an upside pivot, there have been 40 iterations of which 23 were guessed correctly to the upside. That gave us a 57.5% chance that when this condition met, we would face an upside that has an average thrust of 47.05% over the span of almost 6 days. And that 47.05% move to the upside was absolutely met. Okay, so in fact, this is 47.08, right, suggesting a top side of about 1323, but in fact, the move made it to about 1306, 45% of the statistical mean. Okay, which is pretty awesome that we were able to see it way before it actually happened, right? So that I speak about this all the time, right? As soon as the statistical mean kind of meets, there are some spikes, there are some upside continuations, right? And it is conditional upon the closure of the previous day's candle, right? But yeah, we still got another 20% run to the upside even today, and then we actually failed. Okay, so I would honestly say that it was more than fair what it actually did for the shorter term time frame, not for the longer term, not for investors and not for those who are holding at higher valuations here. It was a move that was looked at for a short term because I am a short term trader, right? So let's go ahead and continue on the analysis here and take a look at we're going to look at momentum here on the buy daily, and it looks like momentum is actually starting to suggest a potential continuation to the upside via the EMA 3. of the stochastic momentum indicator. Okay, so now that could potentially be showing us another type of statistical move. I have not ran a backtest here on the buy daily, but it looks to be like it wants to face that critical contraction zone on volatility, and we could actually face that upside pivot, thus creating another upside thrust. Okay, so let's go ahead and validate that temporary downside for now. Okay, we're going to use the RSI for this. So 30-minute immediate short-term time frame, a little bit of consolidation here. We still have a downside suggestion from that 14-day simple represented by the pink line, right? So now let's go ahead and take a look at the 4-hour time frame, as it does have a suggestion of a potential support soon using the 14-day simple moving average. Okay, another temporary downside is actually coming out from the 8-hour time frame, and you can see that we have that 14-day simple moving average located right in the gravitational zone of the bear strength percentile, which means that we can find a bounce from both the support of the 14-day simple and the gravitational zone before an upside. Okay, bi-daily iteration is also showing that very slow downside. It's kind of showing that bears are losing a little bit of strength right here. And upon that bounce, which could be over the next day or two, I'm talking about the reaccumulation phase, going back down to that 889 target that we spoke of over the next day or two before a bounce, right? So we could then start to maybe consider breaking upside of the 14-day simple moving average on the buy daily, because as you can see on the buy daily, the 14-day simple moving average is downside, and we're starting to show that little bit of a curvature right there, right? So this could mean that bears are losing strength yet again, and the RSI signal may very well succeed the upside or succeed the 14-day simple moving average, right? So we have an upside pivot on that 5-day iteration as well. Right, so there are what this is basically telling me is that the definite upper term timeframes are kind of waiting for the influence from the smaller timeframes, right? So that before we can continue on to that upside. Okay, you guys, so please be very careful with your longs, okay? So, and now I actually still have, the week number 1 for the ArcMaster students actually just started this Sunday, yesterday, and it's just the introduction week, right? So if you are still interested in joining or getting enrolled for the ArcMasters trading course, I still have about 2 seats available, okay? So if you are interested, definitely find the email in the description below and get yourself enrolled. And yeah. But with that said, guys, remember first and foremost that I'm not a financial advisor. Take whatever I do show and iterate within these videos as just a form of entertainment, as it cannot suggest for you to buy or sell any assets whatsoever. I need you to do your own due diligence. Everything will be cool. Okay, you guys? But with that said, I wish you well, a very good night, and I will catch you at the bell mañana. Adios.